What's going on our YouTube? First video in my partially new scale garage. Yeah, I don't have the sidewalls yet, so we are just winging it. I'm waiting on some more wood. So in the meantime, I can't resist putting a little bit of scale stuff in the shop. I see I've got a few things hanging in the back, but put the rigs up here, testing out the new lighting, even though it's still not complete. But yeah, I need to do some work. I can't do anything but sit here and wait on wood. So time to take a look here at my budget bone stock Trail Finder 2, and we're going to do some mods to it. So out at USTE 19, I drove this thing with the 4Runner body. That's what we ended up putting on there since I needed a chassis for that new body release. And did pretty well. Bone stock, you know, nothing groundbreaking. Electronics are pretty generic. But the day 3, I think I put this body back on it. This body belongs to this truck. This is my first Mojave body. It used to be the baby blue one, if you see other videos on my channel. And it was kind of a test bed for weathering. And you can see it's got some pretty good scrapes and stuff down to plastic or primer or blue. And so we're going to do some touch-up work on it as well. But also while I was out at USTE, I met the fine folks at BowhouseRC, and I've got a couple of their products here that we're going to upgrade this rig with. Now the funny thing is, BowhouseRC, this 3D printed transfer case skid plate made in the USA, I've had this on my red Hilux for 4 or 5 years. Back when they were just brainstorming stuff and had it for sale in a Shapeways store, I ran across it. My first experience with Shapeways and 3D printed, thought I would try it, see how durable it was. So after talking with David from BowhouseRC off and on the whole weekend, I went back on Sunday and I picked up another one of the skid plates because I know they're nice and durable. And I tried these out. These are a rear shackle hanger for the TF2. If you got a box stock TF2, you push down on it, sometimes the shackles hang up and against the frame, and you don't really get any flex out of it. This one hadn't had that much problem, but I wanted to try the different angle. They do move the shackle mount back just a hair, so see if what kind of extra flex that might give us, if any. But these are aluminum, so this is 3D printed, made in the USA. This is aluminum, and it says made in Canada, and I have a suspicion that's made by our friends at GCM Racing. I know they do a lot of things together with their C-Max chassis and the Bauhaus axles and some things you might see here on the channel in the near future. But yeah, so first up we're going to go ahead and touch up some of these scratches. Now this body has had every kind of weathering I know how to do done to it, even as far as having real oil poured on it. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my iron paint and I'm just going to dab over the scratches on the sides, and we're just going to leave them. I'm not going to do the activator or anything. And over time it will slowly rust and give us some real rust scratch marks. But in the meantime it'll just kind of look like bare metal of sorts. So we'll see how that goes. If not, I may use the rust streaks and just dab in places. I don't want to change the continuity of it too much. This has weathering powders on it. It has literally every type of weathering I've ever done is on this truck. So let's get started. guys, so the skid plate swap here wasn't too painful. Of course, those screws were stripped out. I hate that design. They go through the back hole of the transfer case mount and through the frame rail and into the body post. And this has metal body posts, so of course I probably Loctited them when I put it together. And but yeah, we're shaving like, I'd say almost 8mm off the bottom of this thing. My front drive shaft might have been a little short. It's really not got a whole lot of play in it. We'll see how it goes. If it needs to be lengthened, I've got some more odds and end pieces. I could probably find a longer outer piece to fit on there. But yeah, it just keeps your angle here from your input perfectly horizontal with the output of the transmission, and it just swivels the transfer case up. So your pinion angles are a little bit worse, but your ground clearance you're getting is so much more worth it. So yeah, after I had to cut the bolts out, these are the body mounts for the F350 body on here. They're a little bit different than your normal plastic ones. I did drill out the back hole just to make it easier to get in and out, and also use scale bolts. So I'm not trying to stick an M3 in there crooked. These will bite a little bit better, and I could even remove them from without having to take the transfer case out if I had to. It's like say I was swapping out body mounts. So let's move on to the back now. So looking at the rear shackle mount, not getting a whole lot of shackle movement. These look like they're going to bring the upper end of the shackle closer to the front and hopefully give us a little bit more upward movement of the rear of the leaf spring, and in turn a little bit more flex. Not sure if that's how they're intended to be used, but these are super nice, really nice quality CNC finish. But these will be an easy swap. Just got to take the 2 scale bolts out on each side, and then the bolt and the nut off of the upper shackle, and we'll swap those in and see if we gain anything on it. Alright guys, so yeah, couldn't really tell the rear shackle hangers did anything until I put the body on, and you can see it's setting a little bit lower in the back now, and it actually feels quite a bit softer. It's just a slight angle, and I mean, we probably changed that by 4 or 5 degrees max, and yeah, it made actually quite a difference. I need to do something up front. Typically on my Trailfinder 2s, I'll take a Jalon 2 shock hoop, and I will use the stock shock. And that makes it a lot softer. It gives, because right now, the way it's set up, that's bottomed out on the shock. So you put, I mean, ride height, we're barely getting 5mm of travel. I mean, we still have more flex and stuff, but that's a total movement up and down. But the problem with that is it's designed that way from RC4wd drive to not interfere with the steering. Right now I have a big aluminum servo horn, and the servo is spaced up, I think 3 or 4mm. And when those shocks bottom out, the servo horn is just 2mm from the top of the axle housing, and the steering and everything, the geometry stays good. So if I go and throw longer shock towers on it, then we're going to hit the steering servo horn on the axle pumpkin every time it moves up and down all the way. So got some brainstorming to do on that. You can see my gray metal paint here is starting to dry, and it kind of stands out like a sore thumb. So when I applied that, I'll call it my dry brush technique. I used a completely hard, kicked up paintbrush because I never, usually with this rust stuff, I just reuse old paintbrushes. It doesn't matter. It's not like I'm getting fine detail stuff, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put some activator on it and see if we can't turn it a little bit brown. The gray really stands out on the rusty rest of the body. But, oh yeah, you can't even see it from this angle. You can't see the transfer case skid. That really makes a difference. And that's the newest version. The one I have that I've had for 5 years on my other truck, it doesn't have, this one has like little scale bolts and stuff printed into it. And yeah, it's excellent quality stuff. And I believe they do most of their printing through Shapeways, so you're getting the highest quality 3D print possible, and some very well designed stuff. So give them a check out if you ever run into them anywhere. Stop and check out their products. They've got stuff for all the crawlers. They've got stuff for TRX4s and the new Gen 8 Red Cats and SCX10s, everything. They've got skid plates and like they're due with GCM, they've got different width axles. They've got some Dana looking axles, some like corporate 14 bolt looking axles, Yoda axles, and hoping to have my really narrow Yoda axles from Bauhaus pretty soon, so we can start the new build for USTE 20. But yeah, let me get the activator out and yeah, get this thing rusty. Alright guys, so really happy with the suspension and the skid plate. The real rust, the iron paint went on fine. The activator had some funny effects. Again, like I said, this has every kind of weathering. It's got the rust streaks, it's got pigments and pigment binder, it's got real oil, it's got all kinds of stuff on it. So that activator, it started beating up and running off of it like the body was waxed, but it was taking some of the rust streaks with it. That is the problem with those AK brand rust streaks, is they're almost like a wood stain, and they like to remove everything, and they don't play nice with other chemicals and stuff like that. So, but the iron paint stayed, didn't really rust over much, so we'll just let nature happen on that. Next time I get it out on the trail, get wet and get dirty and just leave it, and that stuff will eventually rust over for real. And I did add a little extra. I put it in some of these big deep dents that are on the bed, and you can see where it ran out of that one. But yeah, overall really happy that you can see underneath the difference already. That skid plate really makes a difference. It only hangs down about 8 to 10 millimeter below the rocker of the body, and that was about 5 to 8 millimeter higher than the stock one was. So very satisfied with that. I'm really surprised that those rear shackles were just barely different than the stock ones, and it really seemed to make a difference as far as the stiffness of everything. I mean, that's pretty good flex right there for, I'll grab a couple tires here, for pretty much stock TF2. That's on all three. And yeah, I'm digging it. I need to make some more adjustments to the front. But yeah, for a bone stock truck, this thing did pretty good on the trail as it was. I think a little bit more flex and, you know, the higher ground clearance there in the center, it's going to make a world of difference. But anyway, let me know what y'all think. And yeah, be sure to check out BowhouseRC. There's a link in the video description. They've got some pretty awesome products for just about every kind of crawler on the market. And yeah, keep it scale.